Alright folks, here she is. Some of you may or may not know about this engine. I bought this engine out of Kansas, and this is a American LaFrance V-12, LaFrance, however you want to say it. Okay, this is a Lycoming design, which is the same company that built the straight 8 Lycoming in my L car, and they're sort of known for their covers on their water jackets, which somebody has replaced these. These are not original. I'm assuming that the metal ones rusted out and they put aluminum on. So this is a takeout out of a fire truck. Just like Seagrave engines were Pierce Arrow designed and built, and then Seagrave bought them out and then went to the put dual spark plugs in them and stuff and started building their own engines. That was for a Pierce Arrow car, and even though it was a Seagrave engine, it was actually a Pierce Arrow engine before that. Well, this was a Lycoming engine that became an American LaFrance engine. They done the same thing, you know, added cubic inches over the years and added 2 spark plugs per cylinder. Got one distributor that runs off the front of the engine, just, you know, normal. You got one distributor that runs off the back of the generator. And then this has got an added on alternator. I'd say it was just a generator at one time, and it's actually 12 volt. And somebody later on added that alternator to it. And pretty simple engine. It's not really complicated. It's called a side valve engine. It's flat head, as you can see the heads, but the valves actually come in. Well, the head of the valve is here, and the stem of the valve sticks in this way. The cam would be down here, and you'd have cam followers that actually open the valves. So we'll pull this cover off and I'll show you what it looks like in there, and we'll check the valves, make sure there's none stuck before we go to trying to start this thing. It's not stuck, the engine's not. Jed, some of you may have watched the video that when he went and got this engine for me, and if you don't know who Jed is, and his dad at Scott's Speed Shop, I put a link in the description. Go check him out and subscribe to him. He does some really good videos. If you're a Chrysler man like Mopars, he's definitely got them. They got some Hemis and stuff, so check them out. He helped me out. He went and got this for me. This was on Facebook Marketplace. Paid the seller. Jed and his dad went and picked it up for me, brought it to their house, stored it for me for a little while until a friend of mine happened to be out in Missouri and ran by Kansas there and picked it up. Jed's dad built a frame for it, which I wasn't expecting, but I like it, and I'll leave it on there and we'll start it with it on that frame. And like I said, Jed had done put some oil in it, put some oil in the cylinder, so we're not stuck. Engine turns over good, and maybe possibly a little too good. Like we got some stuck valves, not building compression, but that's okay. We can deal with that. Now we got an intake issue right here, and what I will probably do is just machine a piece, machine this out square, and make a piece that goes in here and take it over to Lawrence, buddy of mine, let him weld it on, and then I'll finish machining it back to what it's supposed to be. We've got the carburetors for this. I figured worst comes worst, we'll pull the intakes off and build a new intake. Maybe a single 4-barrel or something like that, it wouldn't matter. Now, you can see how narrow this is. It's not as heavy of an engine as you would think it would be, but I mean, it's pretty heavy. So anyway, we're gonna be doing the first start video on this thing soon. Okay folks, haven't done any filming, but pulled the engine back out, got everything right. Finished welding, finished grinding, doing everything I need to do. I went ahead and painted the pieces. I normally wouldn't have painted them, but I've had so many people ask me if I was going to paint them, so I painted the parts. So now it's time to start hooking stuff up permanent, and so we can get this thing rolling. I put the manifold on facing up. I may end up, and it's just bolts are just started, but I may come up and over and come outside with it, and that would solve our heat problem inside here. So we may do that. We'll see, and we'll just keep at it, and you know, eating the elephant one bite at a time. Okay folks, a little time to get back on it. Working on a filter mount and also working on alternator mount, and we're getting ready to do a fan. Try to get as much done as we can, and I'll show you something else. I want to just show you real quick, I pulled the valve cover on this to check the valves and make sure that there was no sticking valves. We'll pull it back off and show you real quick what this looks like. What a side valve engine. And you know, I don't know, I guess it'd be hard to call this a flathead engine, even though it's got flat heads on it. The valves are in the heads and not in the block, so I guess just call it a straight, you know, side valve. Alright, there you go. There's what she looks like. No valve stuck at all. Turns over good. You can see that the top of this is oval shaped. The top of this is where the cam followers run down and pivot from. And the bottom is where the cam runs down. So, and like I said, the valve's in head, but they come in sideways. So that makes it a side valve. It rolls over really good. It's building compression. I haven't rolled it over with starter yet, but I think it's going to be fine. So anyway, I hadn't decided for sure what I'm going to do. If I'm going to keep these intakes and run them, or if I'm going to build an intake. And it wouldn't be hard to build, you know, either maybe a dual 4 intake. It wouldn't be hard to build a, you know, maybe for 4 little 3-bolt Strongbergs. Either way, but I think what we need to do is, even if we need to do this as a temporary setup, you know, and not do it as a permanent good job. I mean, what I'm saying is to get some JB weld and come up with a way of doing it so we can at least get this thing started and see how it's going to run before we do any major fabrication work or anything. I have figured out a way of putting an MV4500 behind it, but for now I think we're going to hold off a little bit, and we'll continue to work on the Traco and get it out of the way, and then maybe we'll do a first start on this thing. Okay folks, been a little bit since I updated, but 800 cold cranking amp battery, got the panel back in, mount's done, mounted the fuel filter right here, shouldn't be no problem to get to. This thing has got an electric fuel pump underneath the frame here, so that's what we're running. I've temporarily got it wired. It's not permanent at all. We're going to run our gauges. I had to order a fuel shutoff. This fuel shutoff's working, and then it's getting hot and shutting down. So I got to take care of that problem. Alternator brackets, we're finishing them up now, and I think that's about it. Everything else is together now. I've already started it, ran it, and actually operated the backhoe part of it, the stick, so everything's working good. No issues, no problems. I think I'm going to run the exhaust from here up, out the side with a pipe, with a muffler, and then put a short piece of pipe on it facing back. And I've got the cover here, which is pretty beat up and rusty, but we're going to work with it. But I'm not going to put the muffler back up under. I talked to the friend that this thing originally came from. He sold it to another friend of mine, but he's got 2 or 3 other ones, and he said that all of these had issues with heating. So it's not just one, so that's why they run them with the covers off. So I really think that the muffler is a lot of the issue. So we've got to get a fan figured out. All I've got is the broken one or the smaller one, and it's about 2 inches smaller, and I really don't want to run it. And here's our alternator bracket, so we'll get it on and see what it looks like. Alright folks, we're wrapping this thing up for tonight. Did get the alternator brackets made, alternators on. It's actually going to clear, the hood's going to clear if we set it on, took it back off. And just got to do all the wiring and some piping for the intake. Just a bunch of little stuff, and I've got to come up with a fan here. But running wise, we're good to go. I'm going to replace the fuel shutoff because of it's getting hot and quitting working after a while. And then we're putting new glow plugs in because I want them hooked up and working right. So that's the plan. So the next video should be the final one on this, and we'll go from there. All right, appreciate everybody watching. Bye.